Well, hello, Freedom Over Fear family. Welcome back to another episode with Iowa Mama Bears. And we have a special guest tonight. She's a 14-year-old freshman student from Minnesota who has taken a stance, everybody, to say enough is enough with these masks. And she held her grounds, even though they isolated her in school. And this girl is kicking butt and ready to tell everybody else how to do the same thing. So let's welcome Grace. Grace, how are you, sweetheart?
Hi, I'm good. Nervous for this.
Oh, don't be nervous, Grace. We're in this together, hun.
Yeah.
You're just like we are.
Absolutely.
Standing up for what you believe. And when you do that, you should be so proud of yourself.
And who do you have with us? You want to just tell us who's with you?
Yeah, this is my father, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Yeah.
Hello.
My mom, my grandmother are next door. We share the duplex, so my brother won't interrupt us at all.
Gotta love younger siblings, right?
Yeah, he's a handful. He's almost 2, so we're right.
So please tell us how your journey began and what you have done.
Okay, so it was interesting. So
where are you from first, I guess? Where are you from? What school?
So I'm originally from Seattle, Washington area. And last year we moved from Washington to Minnesota. And so we moved in the dead of winter. And so I wasn't able to start school until fall. And I started at Wadena Deer Creek High School for my freshman year. I made a lot of friends. The school year was going great. And then they said that the COVID cases had gotten higher. And so that was probably about a month ago. And so it was probably a Thursday. Yeah, it was a Thursday. And they said, so we won't have to do it tomorrow, but starting Monday, we're going to have to wear masks until Friday because of the COVID cases. And so I was like, so that's not happening. And I started on a slideshow presentation, and I started it with the caption, "The oppression of a face mask, why nobody should wear one."
Wow.
And
did you present this to your board? The school board?
What?
Did you present this to
Not
the
yet.
school board?
No, we found out that we had just missed the school board meeting.
They found out about it quick though.
Oh,
Real quick.
nice.
Yeah, it was spread quite quickly. So originally, I found out about you guys from my grandmother, who is all about the Constitution as well. I mean, she's a nut for justice, which I love. And so she was watching your show, and we even listened to your podcast on like your introduction and your daughter, and well, both your daughters. And I found that really inspiring. And so that night I dug really deep into my slideshow presentation. And I had a total of 14 slides by the time I was done. I don't think I told you this, but I definitely stayed up past my bedtime and worked on that.
Sorry, Dad.
Hey, if it's about constitutional freedom and then right thing, I mean, how can I even say no? I really
Right. I mean,
truthfully.
Yeah. So I stayed up until probably 1:30 in the morning, and I didn't release it until the next day. Because like my friends, I had been talking to my friends and other people around the school just to get like in-school input, just to see where everybody was at. Of course, I wasn't able to talk to everyone, but 99% of people that I talked to said that they thought the masks were absolute crap. And I mean, people were ripping up their masks on the bus in the schoolyard. And I mean, it was the disposable ones. So in the office, they have just cardboard boxes full of the cloth ones. And so they're like, oh, here, I have one for you. And I'm like, no, thank you. I prefer air. And so the day after I released it, well, I released it on a Friday. So I gave it time to marinate over the weekend. And like I was sitting there and I was seeing who all was like viewing it because I can see their little circle
And
up
where
there.
did you put it at?
Mhm.
Like, what did
I
you put?
posted, it was so hard. So I have this Google Classroom file and it says 9th grade, and they just send emails to the 9th graders, but you can see every list of people, all the people in the 9th grade. So I know the rest of our email, which is at wdcps.org. So I just put what I knew that their email would be and finished it off. And I hand typed those for like an hour just to email it to the entire 9th grade.
That is
And-
genius,
Wow,
I have
that's
to say.
amazing.
That's
Yeah.
Do you know about how many people you emailed that to?
72. And
Cool.
that was all of them I found out. So
Wow.
it got reshared and reposted. And
It traveled a
Yeah.
lot.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
so I found out on Monday when I walked onto the bus that my bus driver was completely fine with us not wearing a mask. He had been super relaxed about him. He's awesome. I don't know his name, sadly. And
That's
so I wasn't like required to wear a mask on the bus. So I thought, okay, this is going pretty well so far. And then I got to school and I got in the breakfast line, and then my school advisor pulled me over and she's like,
Can I insert something?
Yeah.
Okay. She had let us know what was going on. We were fully aware. We had seen the slideshow. She'd asked for our input. So we knew come Monday, it was going to go down. I mean, she had made us very aware of what was coming. And we'd all discussed it. We were all on the same page. So Monday we were expecting a phone call, and they were not to disappoint.
wow.
So when she pulled me aside, she was like, hey, you need to put a mask on. And I said, no. And she's like, yeah, you do. That's school policy. And I'm like, that's cool. School policy is for people who are paid to be here. I'm not paid to be here. I got pulled to the office and she put me in the conference room, which had windows.
Policy is not law.
And I talked to her and she's like, you know, I really like you. I don't want to damage our relationship at all. And I'm like, neither do I, because this woman's really nice.
Mhm.
I went to a summer school program with her, so I knew her. And then the superintendent came in and I called my dad and he got there way quicker than I expected. And
Yeah, yes, I did.
I bet.
I knew that call was coming.
You're like, gotta go.
Ready to go.
Good job, Dad, for
Just was that
supporting
phone
her.
call. I'm 9 minutes away. I can be there in 7.
yeah,
That's amazing.
I heard them like introduce themselves down the hall, and I could hear my dad's work boots like clomping down the hall, like the conference room, and I'm like, oh, it's going down. And so he sat down next to me and he gave the superintendent introduced himself and said, you know, I meet weekly with the local hospital and check up on the COVID cases, and this is the first spike we've had in the school year. And so I'm going to give you 3 options. You can either pretend like this never happened and wear a mask and go about your day,
No.
which I immediately checked that off.
Okay.
And the other option was to go home and do my classes online until the week ended. Or I could go into a 6x10 room with a desk, 2 chairs,
No windows.
and no windows.
A cell of sorts.
Yeah.
It's literally a jail cell of
It's a
sorts.
sale. Yep.
And do my
Yeah.
work there. So I chose my cell and I was there
A cell.
all
She
day.
chose a cell.
Could I ask how they justified finding that as a classroom for you?
Yeah.
And
They were like, well, the door's open and it's in the office, so teachers can see her and we'll bring her her paperwork.
How'd that work out?
I had to ask so many times to get one paper the first day.
And how were your grades affected?
They plummeted
Wow.
really bad. I mean,
They tried to
So-
burn her at the stake over
Mhm.
this.
Yeah.
so nobody
They try to
informed.
make an example out of you.
yes, they
Yep.
did.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm so
Absolutely.
proud of you for sticking your grounds because
Yes.
most people would have caved and not
Mhm.
done it. But you are
Yeah.
incredibly brave. And I am so
Thank
proud
you.
of you just standing up because we need more kids like you to do this. And Dad, you're doing an amazing job at raising her. You guys are amazing. And I'm
We
just
don't believe in
honored.
being children. We don't believe in weak children. That's been the case for too long, for too many generations. It's time to start raising strong children again.
That's
That's
right.
what makes a difference in the world.
Mhm.
And Grace, perfectly capable of it, and she's intelligent, she's smart, she's strong, she's thoughtful, she's also a little hard-headed, and that's good though. I mean,
Yeah, that is.
it's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
You know,
she needs to stand up for her rights, and you're teaching her just that. And I am so proud of that, because a kid that will always bow down to what an adult says is not one that you want to be a leader later on down the road. You want to raise leaders. And her sticking up for her rights against everybody else, she's going to be an amazing leader. And I'm calling it now. She's going to be president. She's going to be president.
I would love if she was. I'd be so happy.
Yeah.
I'd retire a yacht with my.
There we go. You're going for president, girl. Amen.
Do it.
Yep. I'll be a 35-year-old queen machine.
There you go. That's right. So tell us like what happened when they put you in that room?
Okay, so they originally told me I could stay in the conference room, and they said, okay, you might have to be moved out because there is a meeting today. And I said, okay, what room would I be moved into? And she's like, oh, just a little one down the hall. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't sound too bad. And then I got there, and I was like, there's one accent wall, a desk, and 2 chairs, and a door.
I remember the video that you sent me of you.
I saw it too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
Wow.
What would they purpose that room for previously? It makes you question. Like, is it like a discipline room? Because it seems like to me you were disciplined for just standing up for your rights, and maybe a lawsuit might be in the beginnings.
Dad says yes. So I asked what that room was for, because I wondered the exact same thing. I'm like, so is this like your torture chamber, or like what's going on? And they're like, no, this is the ISS room, which stands for in-school suspension. Or you can, when teachers had to distance learn, some of them would still come to the building, and that was what that room was used for. Just a blank room with no distractions so that kids could focus in the Zoom meeting, which I thought, okay.
It was built as an ISS room.
But yeah, it was built as an ISS room. And they're like, we're not counting this as in-school suspension, so you're not in school suspension. And I was like,
but you were.
That's them covering themselves.
I know.
You're not in school suspension, but you're in school suspension because you're not complying to what the stupid rules about the mask are.
No, basically they hung me out to dry. I mean, they made an example of me, and I heard teachers talking about me in those halls. And some days I would close that door all day because it was so depressing to hear people talking about me, especially
What kind of things were they saying, hon? Can you tell us, or do you want to tell us? You don't have to.
Oh, it's okay. One teacher I heard next door said that like they commended me for my bravery, but I remember being called an idiot because of my beliefs. And I just remember thinking, okay, so I'm an idiot because I believe in our rights. Sweet. And so that was just kind of painful, because I mean, I have a lot of self-love, which I think is really interesting for my age. It's really important. Yeah. And so that was really damaging, especially coming from an adult who is supposed to support you and be there for you and be the bigger man, to be honest. And
you're not an idiot for standing up for your rights. They're an idiot for putting you into a solitary room, solitary confinement, basically, for doing what you believe is right. I think that teacher might have been a little jealous of you and your bravery, because the teacher themselves don't have enough self-love to stand up for what they believe in. They just rather follow the herd, and just, I'm proud of you. You're not an idiot. You're amazing.
Thank you.
They're sheeple.
Yes, they are sheeple.
Yeah. And then some of the comments and looks that I received in the hallways. Yeah.
So when I got called in initially, obviously the school called me really quick, and we're like, hey, we've got your daughter in the office. We need a parent down here. But we already knew what it was about. So I went down there, and she'd had a bunch of friends that said, yeah, I'll do this with you. I'll stand with you. I got your back, girl. So forth, and all these emails. And come Monday, there was one girl who's kind of, we've kind of befriended her as a family, and, you know, taken care of her and helped her out. Her family's in a kind of a rough situation. So she stood with Grace until it got hot. And as soon as it got hot, she said, look, I told you I'd probably bail out. I'm going to. And I did. And she left the room about the time I walked in. And I appreciate her staying with Grace for until I got there. But at the same time, watching her last friend walk away, I was like, wow, that's really tough. You know, see your daughter take that stand.
Yeah. And you still stood even after your friend left. That's amazing.
Yes and no.
She stood alone.
Yeah.
I was definitely nervous, but I was completely justified. So I wasn't shaking in my boots. She actually wasn't on board with it at first. Apparently, as I heard from other people and from her personally, she was really, really mad at me when I first posted that. She came over like a week after it happened, like after everything was done, and she handed me a paper that said everything wrong with Grace's presentation. And
this is supposed to be like one of your good friends.
Yeah, well, we're not friends anymore due to others.
Yeah, I wonder.
And so it was like 2 pages of everything that was wrong with my slide. And she said a lot of your information was really incorrect. And I just find that so offensive. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry to offend you, but your opinion wasn't being accounted for when I was making this. And she's gonna cut still. And then when she handed me the paper, I started to read it. And she was like talking to me. And I walked inside and I shut the door.
Good job.
I just closed the door in her face. And I came inside for a minute and I showed my mom. And she was like absolutely blown away that someone would have the audacity to do that. And I looked at the people at my door and she was still there sitting on my bench. So I went back outside and I talked to her and I told her, this is extremely offensive and I don't appreciate this. If you wanted to give me constructive criticism, you can tell me in person, but you shouldn't write it in a paper.
Right.
And so we kind of separated at that point. And other people had told me various comments like, it's this slideshow presentation is an embarrassment to the entire 9th grade. Which I really didn't care about because that girl is like I'm sorry, a potato has more brains than her. So I didn't really care. And then I heard other various comments like, what an idiot, or why is she even standing up? It's just a week.
Even our own, good.
Even
our own family, some of our own family members were like, well, you know, this is you know, poor choice. It's not going to end well. And I'm like, well, no, man.
Sometimes you got to lose friends and family to stand up for what's right. And if you believe hardcore in your...
If you look at our forefathers, they lost everything. They sacrificed freedoms. And then to give those up so meekly and quietly, just so somebody doesn't look down on you is...
Right.
We're related to Thomas Paine, who has, if you Google him, he wrote tons of good things about the Constitution and rights, and he's a blood relative of ours, obviously long east. And you know, we kind of follow in his footsteps. We don't, you know, we're not really good at submission. That's just not a family trait we're good at. And that's Grace really took that to heart, and you know, had done a bunch of research on that, and was willing to pay the cost to take that stand. And I had no idea it would be what it was. I mean, I knew something would happen, but you know, if someone was like, look, you can spend 8 hours a day in a 6x10 room, I'd be like, nah, I'm good. What I got to do to not do that?
Right.
Yes.
And she was just like every day, and she came home with a good attitude and like, nope, today was tough and that's fine. And I'm gonna hang out with my brother for a little bit and we'll cook dinner and handle business and move along. And I'm gonna do it again tomorrow and repeat it. And it was just like, wow.
Some adults can't even do that.
Most adults can't do that. I was just like,
most of them, because like they don't want to look down upon because of others, but a 14-year-old child has a more mature level than most adults today. That's sad, but I commend you for raising such a strong daughter.
And to stand on her convictions. I mean, you do
Yeah.
not find that today very often, especially amongst the youth, because they're being targeted and being
Yes.
indoctrinated. And
Yep.
she's taking a stand. And Grace, I really believe that more people you've touched than you probably realize, because all of the negatives being thrown at you. But honestly, you have no idea the number of seeds that you've planted in the hearts of other kids your age. And just wait, just give it some time. And just wait, because your act of bravery, it will not go unnoticed.
You're going to encourage
Even by the
so
good
many
side.
other children like yourself to stand up and fight for what's right as well, because we need people like you to stand up, especially children, because you guys are so isolated. Most of the time, you guys' voices are silenced by these masks even. You know, they don't want to take your opinions, but you are very strong and bold, and I love it, because you're everything that we stand for, and you're a prime example of us. We're just gonna, you're a baby bear. That's just what you are. You're our baby bear. I mean, we're so proud of you.
Okay.
And like we're dubbing you baby bear, like little baby warrior bear. That's what you're gonna be, like, 'cause that's what you are. And like, you to sit there for a week in solitary confinement, it's just, holy cow.
You're willing to suffer for what you believe
Wow.
in. And that's very, very rare.
So how long did they keep masks on kids in school? Was it for a week? Or was it 2 weeks?
It
It's
was
just for
for
a
a
week.
week. Yeah, they were like, okay, we're uncertain whether or not we're gonna have to wear this next week as well. So I'm like, I'm ready. Bring it on. I
Were
will
you
do
the only one in the school that never wore that mask?
Yes.
Yes.
Singular, only one.
out of like 450.
Wow.
Can I ask the after effects? So the week has passed and you're still at the school, I'm assuming. What's
Yeah.
life been like since then?
Grades are still hurting.
My grades were still really hurting, and I had a lot of missing work because, again, they wouldn't bring me any of my papers.
The teachers were supposed to bring her all her papers. They didn't. She was there was a lot of things that were told to us in our initial conversation with the school principal, vice principal, that did not come about. And the end result was her grades took an absolute beating. They went from basically all A's across the board to a handful of A's, handful of B's, a couple of C's. I don't know if there's any D's, but
There was a couple D's towards the end. And
because she couldn't do PE, which, you know, she's athletic. She's done soccer, horseback riding, softball, all sorts. She handles business, but they, you know, when you can't attend class, you don't get points for that.
Right.
So they
So
just gave her zeros?
Yeah,
Yes.
they just hung her out to dry.
Yep.
So when they couldn't take her head on, they
Decided
they found
to go to the
road to
grades.
yeah, if I wasn't turning it online, or if I wasn't demanding to get a paper that hour, it was a 0.
well, and they wouldn't deliver it. So unless she threw a fit like in nonstop until it was delivered, they just straight wouldn't give it to her. So at the end of the day, she's gotten paper for 1-2 classes, not allowed to attend PE, obviously.
2 if I'm lucky. I mean, honestly.
So she's taking F's
yeah.
for the day on everything, even though her grade was an A rolling into it.
Yeah. And so, like, we have math packets every day. And so we are supposed to be taking notes in class.
Mhm.
And so my teacher said, oh, I'll post videos of the math work. And I said, great, that'd be awesome. And he finally did. And so I was able to follow along through the videos that he posted. My math teacher's great. His name is Pete. And I mean, he's awesome. He's like my favorite teacher.
Oh.
But it's really hard to follow along if you don't have the paper.
Right.
So when I asked my student counselor, hey, can I get this paper? She's like, oh yeah, totally. I'll get it to you as soon as I can. And I'm like, okay, great. 2 hours passed. I'm like, hey, it's like 4th period now, and math is 1st period. So like, can I get that paper? And she's like, oh yeah, I just got to finish up this phone call. Hold on. I didn't get it that day. And I have 7 classes. So that's 7 hours, like 7.5 hours.
So where
And
they try to get you to do it online, where like the teacher would teach you and you're supposed to have the paper to follow along, or they just left you in there by yourself to just kind of figure things out?
yeah, just left to figure things out. Because I wasn't brought
How is that right for kids?
like the things that I could do, I did. And then I had like 2 hours where I didn't have to. I watched like 4 movies in that week. Oh my gosh. Like I watched.
Because you had
like,
nothing else to do.
Yeah, I watched like the
Right.
entire Narnia series by C.S. Lewis on Disney Plus. Like, that's how much free time they gave me because they weren't doing their job.
Right.
Katie, do you have a
Grace.
sorry, Grace. Do you have a school board that you can go before and
Yes.
speak?
Once a month.
Yeah, every third Wednesday of the month. And so we missed the last one by like a week. So we've
Not
been
even,
waiting,
yeah.
or like by like 4 days.
Yeah.
And
They-
so
they know
yeah.
we're coming for the next one, and they know
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting because
Yeah.
my wife she's very sweet. She's the most beautiful, sweet, kind, gentle woman you'll ever meet until you get between her and her kids.
That's right.
And-
Get a
and-
mama bear mad.
Mhm.
Yeah. And once Mama Bear comes out,
Yep.
you have your chance up until then. But now that you've surpassed that, what happens here, I have no control over. Good luck. God bless you. Lord be with you. You ain't gonna need.
That's right.
I hear ya.
I mean, this next school board meeting, they're definitely going to get absolute astounding earful because, you know, I've made poor choices in life and done things that caused me to be in rough positions. But so I know what it's like to be locked up in a small cage, and therefore to see that happen to my daughter when she's only standing up for constitutional rights is very aggravating and rough.
Yeah, the next school board meeting is in 2 days. So
Thing.
Record it on your own.
Yes.
So our biggest thing is record and document absolutely
Yep.
everything.
yeah.
Because that shows proof. I would love to show your video on here
Mhm.
that you took of you being in isolation if you want me to. I can show you
Yeah.
the videos of the pictures
ahead.
and the videos
Yes.
of the room
Yeah.
itself. It was disheartening. Can you explain in your own words what that room looked like, felt like
Oh.
to you?
Here, I have extra pictures that I didn't show you, so I can show you like right now and then describe to you exactly what I was feeling. So by the way, I drew that on every single paper that I received.
Yeah,
I
it
love
went.
that.
It went
I
over
love
pretty-
that. I love that.
Yeah.
Katie, is there anyone who's
Grace.
Grace? I don't know what- So
There.
sorry.
Okay.
Just go ahead.
So
Grace.
sorry, Grace. Is there anyone who's come out now and supported you besides your family since this time?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
Thank you.
So this was my room.
And we'll
Like-
post it. We'll put it up too.
Yeah. That was my chair and my desk and my wall. You can see where the blue ends. That's how wide it was. Let's see. Also, like that's all I had. The 2 chairs, a desk, and there was a whiteboard behind me. And that's like a view of me in there. That was day 1. And it was freezing. It was freezing in there. Like the first day until first or second day until I asked them, like, why is it so cold in here? And they're like, oh, we forgot to turn the heat on. And I'm like, thanks.
They
And
didn't even turn on the heat for you.
no, they didn't.
Oh,
This fall. And
Dad, I
then
don't know how you kept it cool because I'd have lost it.
It was
We're very proud of
very
her.
hard.
The amount of discipline it takes to go through being frozen out, locked in a cell, and being told you can make this anytime you want if you submit, and then still refusing to submit and just taking that punishment
Mhm.
day in day out for a week. Like, I'm exceptionally proud of her. That's so tough.
You are an
So,
inspiration to even me because
Aw.
To me,
that's
it's almost like a
amazing.
martyr, really.
Yeah.
I mean, like
Really?
if you take
Yeah.
your suffering and you take your example, and they're saying at any moment, just relent, and then we'll remove this punishment from you.
Yep.
Yep.
It's just like being a martyr. So good
Yep.
luck with these schools making a martyr out of our children, because you know what happens to martyrs? They rise. They rise.
Thank
we will
you.
never comply. We do not believe in that. We will
Yeah.
never.
I know. I remember when me and my dad were talking one night, I think it was my 3rd or 4th day there. He's like, you only have a little while longer. And I'm like, I'm feeling really, really tired.
Mhm.
He's like, just remember, submission is not your style. That gave me strength. Like the first day I was considering, I'm like, is this worth it? There's no one here standing with me.
Mhm.
And I just like the first day was so depressing because I'm like, I have nothing in here. I have no papers to work on, and my Chromebook was dead, so I couldn't do anything. So I just sat in that room until lunch.
Did they let you out for lunch?
They did.
Okay.
I had to ask, but they contemplated it first. So they were in between letting me and not letting me. They decided to let me, which was a very, very good decision for them. And so I was able to spend 30 minutes with people. And then I was back into my room.
So
And
30 days out of an 8-hour day, you're allowed out.
Yep.
I think I'm pretty sure prisoners have better treatment than that.
23 out of 24 at worst. At worst.
Yeah, so
That is sad. That
yeah.
is sad what this school, what these schools are doing to our children. Any other time of year besides this pandemic thing, if that would have ever happened to you in a school, or somebody would have tried to put a mask on our children in school like they did with Olivia and Evie, they'd have gone to jail for abuse.
Yep, prison.
Well, and then withholding your physical activity from you. They're keeping you from PE, which isn't a requirement. Like that to me might be a lawsuit in itself as well, because they're supposed to provide that for you.
Yeah, where's the accommodation
Where's the
for that?
accommodation?
Yeah, you don't even have to wear a mask in PE, and they still didn't let me go. So
Wow.
Okay.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. No, I
That's
mean,
wrong on so many levels.
I was so depressed the entire time. I remember, like, okay, I have always been this way, where I never want to let people know exactly like how I'm feeling, like when I'm sad. So I am fine for my family, and most of the time that was true. But I do remember this, like, all week I cried a lot in that room, and also to sleep, just remembering that I had to do it the next day. I think Friday, when I finally got out of that room, I cried walking to the bus, and I had a lot of people asking me if I'm okay, and I'm like, yes, this is just a victorious moment. And yay. There's a moment that I want to share. So I was on the bus, and there is some chick named Randy. I don't know what she does, but she's an adult on the bus, like an assistant to the bus driver, and she's there to sit with the little kids and also make sure that everyone is wearing their masks. And so I get on the bus, not wearing my mask, and she's like, "Where's your mask?" And I said, "In the garbage can." And she was not very happy with that. And I sat down, she's going down the aisles, and she's like, "You need to put your mask on." And I'm like, "No, I don't." And she's like, "Yes, you do. It's a requirement." And I said, "Is this a requirement or your opinion?" And she was like, "Why do you think you don't have to wear a mask?" And I'm like, "Because I have a religious exemption." And she's like, "Do you have it on you?" I said, "No, I don't have to have it on me. You don't need to ask any questions about this." And she told me, "Okay, the bus driver's probably not going to be very happy about this. You need to go talk to him." And so I talked to the bus driver, and he's like, "That's awesome. How easy is it to get a religious exemption?" And I told him exactly what you told me, Kimberly. I said, to go to the bank and get it notarized. Just print out a paper, get it notarized.
That's right.
And
Nicely done, by the way. Nicely done.
And
Yeah.
he was like, "I think we should all be religiously exempt." And I'm like, "Thank you." And I walked back to my seat, and she's like, "So what did he say?" And I'm like, "Looks like he agreed with me." She was so
That is
Grace,
awesome.
that is so awesome.
That is awesome.
Oh
Hold
man,
on 1 second. Hold on one
That
second.
is so awesome. So
that girl red.
would you
Red.
like to tell your story to, other platforms as well? Because I think this needs to be brought to light, the length that schools will go to and the punishment they'll put on children who do not conform. And so if you are willing,
Absolutely.
we would like to be able to try and get that done for you.
Yes, absolutely.
Because you are an inspiration. You will be an inspiration to so many children, because we need brave kids like you standing up.
You're their voice.
Yes.
You're their voice. Those kids that maybe don't have supportive parents, that have parents who, fear man more than they fear God, and don't have those convictions in their family. You are the voice for those children. I mean, more than you'll probably ever know. So if we can get your story out there, we will do what we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. I want people to know me. I want them to know exactly what happened to me.
Yes, and they need to know.
What's going to continue to happen if people don't start standing up?
Right.
Yes.
Better, it's going to get worse.
Yes. And we need
Parents-
more people to stand up.
But their kids will be subjected to this if they do not back their kids up and support this and enforce their constitutional rights. If they don't start taking a stand and supporting their kids, then this is just going to get 10 times worse. Ask the Jews.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And I always say it's our duty as parents to support and protect our kids at all
Yes.
costs.
Yep.
At all costs. It is our duty to
Yep.
protect them.
No cost is too great.
Amen.
None.
The mask may be first, but we know the vax is next. So
Yeah.
We're
if
from
we
Wa-
comply now.
We're from Washington, and they're already it's already mandatory to buy groceries and to go to school and so on and so
Oh.
forth. That's why we left Washington and we went to Minnesota.
Wow.
Minnesota is also a very democratic state, and it's jumping on board very quickly with what's going on the West Coast on the very democratic states,
Wow.
where it's hard. Some stores and restaurants won't even let you in unless you have a vaccine card.
Wow.
So that's looking to move to Texas, which is a very Republican state. And if you want to bring up a mandatory vaccine, you better have a fast car because you need to get out of state quick.
Yeah.
So that's why we got family, in Washington, we got family in Minnesota, we got family in Texas, but right now the family in Texas is the only one that seems to have their head on straight.
Mhm.
As
You can
they're
always come to Iowa. We're just right below you guys. You just come right here to Iowa. And we'll be happy to welcome you into the Freedom Over Fear family. Any closing that you would like to let us know or say?
So yeah, support the Constitution. First of all, when I'm out of order. Okay, so I'm going into my phone real quick, and I have, like you told me, Kimberly, you were like, make a video diary, and so I have an entire album on my phone, just in case they decided to take my slide down. I took pictures of every slide, that way I could make it again and resend it out. So
And
She's a good teacher.
You
Isn't
can
she?
send that to me and I'll post it in with this video.
I think I did send it to you. I sent you the link.
I'll have to send it to me on the
Email or-
email, so then I can
Mhm.
easily transfer it over. And my phone is a little difficult, so I'll have you just email it to me.
Okay. The last slide that I said was the day to take action, and I was wondering if I could read that to you.
Absolutely, you sure can.
So I said, day to take action, Monday, October 25th, do not wear your masks. They can't suspend us all. The teachers only get paid if the students are in the seats. So if they remove us, they remove their own source of income. As the colder months continue, they will continue to keep us in these horrible masks. Like I've said before, they lower your immune system. If you wear a mask, you are breathing in your own bacteria. Does that really help you? No. So if you're willing to fight for your basic human right of breathing, then do not wear your masks. Thank you so much for listening to what I have to say. And then, how like all the ads online are like, mask up America. I said #masks off America.
Oh, that's
Love it.
amazing.
Love it.
That's amazing.
I'm reminded of the 1930s, before Hitler rose to power and the brown shirts took control, and how, if you research it, many of the people were your age that stood up and spoke out at all costs and affected many, many lives. And if you look around, it's like, well, what would you do in 1930s Germany? Well, take a look around you. Who's speaking out and who's being silent in the face of evil? I don't know if you've heard of Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Grace, have you ever heard of him?
I have not.
He was an
No.
incredible martyr, and he was a Christian. And he said, silence in the face of evil is evil itself. God will not hold us guiltless. And he was responsible for trying to end Hitler's reign. And right before the Allies took over, he was martyred. He was hung for what he did and what he believed. But his words ring today. And it's brave people like you who will, your words and your actions will be told.
Thank you. Yeah, there is two kinds of evil people in this world. People who do evil and people who see evil being done and do nothing.
Wow,
That's so true.
that's so true. Well, we like to
I
end
got
with
that out.
Pray for
prayer
you.
Yes.
Is
we
that
love to.
okay?
What?
Is it okay if we end with prayer for you
Yes,
Yes.
and your
absolutely.
family?
Okay.
Okay. Father God, we thank you so much, Lord, that you equip your people, Lord. It's not who we are, God. It's the power within us to stand against this evil, Lord, in this time. And you are raising up your people, Lord. You are raising up all generations from Grace's age to our age, Lord, to the next generation of our elderly, Father, to be able to stand against the evil, Lord, who understand history, God. So we want to be counted, Lord. We want to be counted as those who stood for you and your name, and those who stood for the children, God. I pray that you would equip Grace with everything that she needs, Lord, moving forward for the journey she's begun. Lord, I pray for her family, that you would keep them safe, that you would protect them, that you would surround them with your goodness and your mercy, Lord, and your angels, God. I ask, Lord, that you would bring the people around Grace that love you and that fear your name and that love her, God. Give her the friends, Lord, that she deserves, not the friends, Father, that have left, God. And I pray that you would fill her with strength and hope, God, knowing that her bravery is making a difference, God, and it's all going to be worth it in the end because of the goodness that she's going to see through her actions. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
And thank
You
you
both-
again.
Thank you, Grace.
You're amazing. And thank you, Freedom Over Fear lovers, for coming back
Yes.
to another episode of Mama Bear Mondays. We will see you next week. And remember,
Get
get
up,
up, get out,
and
get loud.
I've been pacing like this for 10 minutes now. There's no windows in here. It's just wall. One gray wall, all white, one strip along here. Those are the decorations. And then there's a clock. That's it. I think I'm going to have an anxiety attack. This is child abuse. This is not okay. I don't know what to do. I have basically all my schoolwork done, and I still have an hour here in this room alone. And this is day 1 out of 5. I still have 4 days of this left to go. And next week we're in the clear. We don't have to wear masks anymore, so they say. But I know that once the colder months come along, we're gonna be right back in these little guys.